The Earth and its layers. Observe these images. The Earth, our planet, is blue when looking at it from space because it's mostly made up of water. But we can also identify brown and green patches of land as well as white clouds floating in the sky. This is because of the materials which make up the Earth. It is distributed in layers. The lightest layer, such as gases, occupy the exterior layer, and the heavier ones, like rocks, are in the interior. Our Earth is divided into 3 different spheres: the Geosphere, the Hydrosphere, and the atmosphere. The Geosphere is the most solid part of the Earth and is divided into 3 separate layers: the core, the mantle, and the crust. The core is the Earth's center. It is made up of metals and its temperatures are extremely high. The mantle is the Geosphere's thickest layer. The temperature in the mantle is also very high, so high that some rocks found there even melt. The crust is the external layer. It is composed of rocks and it is where the continents are formed, as well as islands and also the seabed. So in a sense, we can say it's the ground we walk on. The hydrosphere is the combination of all the waters that exist on Earth, and it makes up of 3/4 of the ground's surface. Hydro means water, but water, as we all know, can be either as a liquid, solid, or gas, meaning it is distributed in various different ways throughout our planet. The liquid form of water is found in rivers, lakes, oceans, and seas, as well as in minuscule drops which make up the clouds. We see water in a solid form, in ice and snow. And in gas, we find it in the atmosphere, where the sun's heat evaporates the water from the Earth's surface. The most external part of our planet is the atmosphere, which is a layer of air which covers the Earth. It is made up of gas and water vapor. The atmosphere is divided into 2 layers: the troposphere, which is the closest layer to the Earth, and the stratosphere, which is where the ozone is located and is the most distant layer from our planet. The atmosphere is really important as it plays fundamental functions. For example, it supplies the oxygen so that the animals can live. It withholds heat, and it filters the sun's rays, some of which are very harmful for living things. Therefore, in Happy Learning, as always, we like you to take care and respect nature. Don't throw rubbish on the ground, in other words, on the geosphere. Do not pollute the seas and rivers with plastic, cans and bottles, because as you know, the water, the hydrosphere, is absolutely fundamental for life. And of course, try to contaminate the air as little as possible. The atmosphere. If we are able to maintain our planet clean and healthy, all living creatures will be happier.
Great! You've completed the video. Now continue the route with the reading card, the video game, and the activity.
The layer of gas surrounding the Earth is called the atmosphere, and it is an essential element for life on Earth to exist. It makes all living things be able to breathe. It protects us from rays coming from the sun and space. And it also prevents large changes in temperature during day and night. The atmosphere isn't homogeneous. Instead, it changes its composition according to its height. It becomes less and less dense with less and less air. Because of those differences, we divide the atmosphere in 5 layers called the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere and exosphere. We're going to know more about each one of them. The troposphere is the interior layer, the closest one to the Earth's surface. It reaches 12 kilometers in height, and within it is where the phenomenon we call the weather happens, the climate. The stratosphere reaches an average height of 50 kilometers, although in some points it reaches 70. Inside the stratosphere, we can find the ozone layer, which is essential for life because it filters ultraviolet light coming from the sun. If it didn't exist, these rays would end life on our planet. The mesosphere is situated between 50 and 80 kilometers over the Earth's surface. It's the coldest layer in the atmosphere. It can reach less than 90 degrees below zero. It's so cold! The thermosphere, also called ionosphere, reaches 400 kilometers. Within it, space shuttles travel around the Earth. And it's also where the mysterious northern lights take place. They're beautiful, aren't they? The exosphere is the last layer in the atmosphere and is situated between 400 and 2,000 kilometers. After this, there are no more gases, only the emptiness of space. Now we know all about the atmosphere and its layers, but we can't say goodbye without talking about pollution. Human activity releases many gases that contaminate our atmosphere. Smoke from factories, cars, lots of the daily activities we do are creating changes in the atmosphere's composition. All this produces climate change. Floods, acid rain that terminates woodlands. A polluted atmosphere puts the planet's and all living things' health in danger. We need to take the necessary measures so we pollute as little as possible and take care of our planet and the atmosphere so we can carry on enjoying all of nature's wonders.
Search us and subscribe to Happy Learning's YouTube channel.
The hydrosphere is the total of all the water on our planet, and there's a whole lot of it, because approximately 3/4 of the Earth's surface is covered with water. We don't call the Earth the blue planet for no reason. Check it out from the universe. Isn't it beautiful? Water is everywhere and can be found in 3 states. In a liquid state, like in the seas, lakes, rivers, and underground rivers. In a solid state, in the form of snow or ice, like at the peaks of these mountains, and in a gaseous state, like in the clouds, which soar all over the world and which, when highly concentrated, give us the wonderful rain that waters and gives life to all of nature. All of this water forms the hydrosphere, a super important layer of the Earth. Quick fact, did you know that all living beings are made up of water? Yes, it's incredible! 60% of our body is made up of water. More than half our body is water. Ha! We could almost say that we are also part of the hydrosphere. But do you know how water came to Earth? It all started 4 billion years ago, when our planet was a huge super hot ball, and a bunch of comets and asteroids loaded with ice crashed into it. As it was very hot, the ice from these comets and asteroids evaporated quickly, forming the first clouds. And these clouds travelled all over the planet, dropping water in the form of rain. And so, little by little, the Earth cooled down and was filled with water. Part of this water accumulated in different parts of the Earth and dissolved the mineral salts of the surface, forming the primitive seas. And it was there, in those seas, where life, wonderful life, arose. We all know that there is fresh and salty water, but did you know that 97% of the hydrosphere is composed of salt water? Yes, only 3% of the water that exists can be drunk. Only 3% of all water accounts for fresh water. There is something very important and super interesting that you should know. The water on our planet is always the same. The water we drink or bathe in is the same water brought by those comets and asteroids. It is the same water that the dinosaurs drank. Isn't that just incredible? Water changes state and is always travelling in the super famous and endless journey that we call the water cycle. But remember, the amount of water never, ever changes. And what does this mean then? Well, it means that we have to take care of it. Because of pollution, the water of the seas and rivers is getting dirtier and dirtier. And many living beings are dying because of it. That is why, from Happy Learning, that we insist so much on the need to take care of water. Without it, life would be impossible. If we learn to appreciate it and take care of it, we will always be able to enjoy it, and our hydrosphere and all the living beings in the world will be very grateful.
Great! You've completed the video. Now continue the route with the reading card, the video game, and the activity.
The geosphere is the most solid part of our planet. Yes, it includes the Earth's surface and everything that lies beneath it to the very centre of the Earth. It is extremely important because it is here where life develops. A part of the geosphere is under the oceans, forming the wonderful seabed. And the other part rises to the surface, forming the continents and islands. But there is much more to the geosphere that meets the eye, and in the depths of our planet, many interesting things take place. Did you know that if we were to drill a hole to the very centre of the Earth, we would have to dig more than 6,000 kilometres deep? It's incredible. It would be immense. The geosphere is made up of 3 concentric layers called the crust, the mantle, and the core. Let's get to know them. The crust is the most shallow and thinnest layer of the geosphere. It is like the skin of our planet. Many things live on it. Even animals that live underground, like these earthworms. Remember that the seafloor is also part of the crust. There is a very special layer called the lithosphere. which contains the crust and the upper mantle. Lithosphere means stone sphere. As well as being very hard and rigid, the lithosphere is also fractured, as if it were broken into pieces. The famous tectonic plates are part of the lithosphere. By the way, did you know that these plates move? Yes. They float on a semi-liquid surface and sometimes collide with each other or collapse. When this happens, it causes earthquakes, tsunamis, and even impressive mountains like these can appear. But of course, mountains don't form overnight. This happens very slowly and over thousands of years. The mantle is the middle layer of the geosphere and is located below the crust. It is the thickest layer, estimated to be about 3,000 kilometers long. Temperatures in the mantle are so high that the rocks and materials that form it are semi-molten like cheese. Can you imagine how hot it is? When the molten rocks from the mantle seep between the tectonic plates and come to the surface of the Earth, volcanoes erupt. That incandescent liquid you can see coming out the mouth of this volcano is molten rock, magma. Isn't it amazing to see what's going on in the layers of the Earth? Just wait and you'll see. The innermost layer of the Earth is the core. It is made of iron and other metals like nickel and silicon. And it is very, very hot, with a temperature of 6,000 degrees Celsius. It's more or less the same temperature of the sun. Could you imagine anything like it? A small sun inside the Earth. I can't believe it. It's amazing.
Wow.
As you can see, underneath our feet, in the geosphere, super interesting things are happening. It's so cool to learn new things.
Search us and subscribe to Happy Learning's YouTube channel.
Did you know that the floor we walk on lies over gigantic rocky plates that look like a jigsaw puzzle and are called tectonic plates? These plates float over magma, an extremely hot material that is found in liquid or viscous form because of its tremendously hot temperature. These plates have great cracks separating them, called plate boundaries, and this is where all seismic movements or earthquakes originate from. And depending on the movement that they make, they can produce different effects. When the tectonic plates shift in opposite directions, they are called divergent plate boundaries, and the magma rises towards the surface, cools down and dries. Then a new floor is formed, like these islands you can see here. When the tectonic plates bump into each other, they are called convergent plate boundaries and form a collision area where new mountains or mountain ranges like the Himalayas or Alps are formed. They can also trigger volcanoes and earthquakes. When tectonic plates slide sideways or along the plate boundary, they are called transform plate boundaries, and they are responsible for seismic movements. When they rub against each other, they rotate and create friction that in some cases can result in catastrophic earthquakes. Earthquakes can be more or less severe. The weakest earthquakes can hardly be felt, but unfortunately, some of them are very violent and cause great disasters. destroying buildings, roads, schools. Entire cities have been destroyed after some earthquakes. In an earthquake, we can differentiate two parts. The hypocenter, which is the point in the earth where the earthquake originates from, and the epicenter, being the point on the earth's surface vertically above the hypocenter. This point is where the earthquake is most intense and the greatest damage is caused. We also call earthquakes seisms, and the people who study these are called seismologists. On Earth, there are more than 2,000 observatories that study and follow earthquakes up close. Actually, each year there are thousands and thousands of earthquakes being registered, but the great majority are so small we can hardly feel them. The seismograph, or seismometer, is the instrument used to measure the earthquake's intensity. Invented in 1842 by the Scottish scientist James David Forbes, it measures the seismic waves that earthquakes cause. Over time, these instruments have been perfected to the point that some can measure earth tremors as small as one that Daniela can cause by jumping. Look! Funny, huh? Goodbye, friends.
Great! You've completed the video. Now continue the route with the reading card, the video game, and the activity.